Welcome to our next episode of the Corporate Box. Today, we are going to be talking about business investments made by sports persons, cricketers into startups and various businesses. Joining us again today is Dhruv. Dhruv has done a lot of work in this space. Welcome to the show again.
Thanks. It's a good way to start 2025 back in our corporate box.
Back in the corporate box, that's where we like it. So, Dhruv, it's a very interesting topic. We've had numerous discussions about this. Uh, what do cricketers do with the income that they earn? What are the kind of deals that they do in terms of getting there? We've seen a lot of, we've read a lot of stuff about them making investments into startups or business companies. So let's try and deep dive into that. Let's break that up as to how these investments happen. We want to start on that.
Yeah, so I think this is very similar to the conversation we had in our last chat, that because Indian cricketers, and I know we sometimes focus a lot on Indian cricketers and not Indian
Sports
athletes or
persons.
sports persons in general, only because Indian cricketers have the highest amount of primary income. So they, with this high levels of primary income, are now using this to invest in startups. So I think that's the evolution that we've briefly seen, from traditional endorsements to licensing deals, and now them using this high amounts of primary income as income to invest into companies.
Primary income and also the equity that they've built over the years.
Absolutely.
So whatever years that they've worked or spent time playing their sport, they've built some name. So they use that equity to get some mileage into the businesses that they get into.
No, absolutely. And because cricket is a 365 days of the year sport, you're playing almost every month, you're playing international cricket, you're on television. Maybe what are cricketers now on television at least 200 to 300 days a year?
Yes.
And on top of that, it's really nice to see this evolution take place in the athlete business or the cricketer business space. I mean, Akhil, to very briefly, speak on how we've come to this point, is that we've obviously understood over the years, and we touched on it in our last chat, that the traditional endorsement was the earliest and the easiest way of supplementary income, of your off-field endorsement income, where you would endorse a telephone, you would endorse a consumer brand like Pepsi or Coke, and you'd get an endorsement fee. You'd offer your services to the brand, and the brand paid you a fee.
Correct.
Over the years,
that is the traditional model.
Of course, and that still today is a very dominant model today. I mean, still, I would say 9 out of 10 Indian athletes in general, and maybe at least 6, 7 out of 10 Indian cricketers still use the traditional endorsement. Endorse a product, get your endorsement fee. Then we evolved one step ahead to the licensing deal. This has been an established model that's happened in other markets like the US and Europe for years. But in India, the first time it really took flight was with the Virat Kohli and the Wrong deal, where that was, you could say, the first very successful Indian athlete, Indian cricketer licensing deal, where instead of endorsing the company, Virat Kohli, if you remember, used to endorse a casual wear brand called Flying Machine, where he would promote the brand and get an endorsement fee.
Yes.
Then we moved to another level where instead of endorsing the brand, he would just get a royalty on sales. So he had tied up with a company in Bangalore called USPL. They created a brand called Wrong, and he would get an annual royalty on sales.
So I'll break it down a little bit here. So you're saying instead of him getting an endorsement fee for coming and giving his time to promote the brand, he takes royalty, which is a percentage of the overall sales that the brand does. That percentage of sales goes to Virat Kohli.
Yes.
And what does he have to do in return?
And again, the same. So your entitlements would be the same as a traditional endorsement. A certain number of shoots, a certain number of content creation opportunities, a certain number of social media promotions. But instead of getting the endorsement fee, you get a percentage of the net sales at the end of every financial year. So that was a simple licensing deal. And Akhil, the best global case study in the world about this is the Air Jordan brand.
Of course. About where a movie has been
Yeah, we
made.
saw the movie Air, where again Michael Jordan was offered a percentage of sales, and he still till this day ends up earning 5% of the annual revenue from
One of
Nike.
the most successful deals ever in the business.
In the licensing business. And then we now move one step further into actually investing in the business, taking stock in the company, investing money, and that's what we're going to talk about a lot in detail today. So the best way to explain it to people: traditional endorsement, from traditional endorsement, a licensing deal where you get a percentage of the sales, and now you own equity in the company.
You mentioned Michael Jordan, and one of the how the business has again evolved, Dhruv, is Michael Jordan did that with one brand, which is Nike.
Yes.
But recently, Roger Federer, who was with Nike for so many years,
Yes.
he parted ways with them. He actually became a part of another company,
Yes. On.
and he became a co-founder and an ambassador for that company,
And owns equity.
and he owns equity in that company. So that is a case study of how the business has evolved. Correct?
Right. You're 200% correct. And Tiger Woods as well. So Roger Federer and Tiger Woods are perfect examples. They had long-term endorsement contracts with Nike.
Yeah.
Roger Federer then moved and started his own business on running, and Tiger Woods started his own business called Sunday Red. Now, again, I get asked this question a lot: is that why does every athlete not have a long-term royalty deal or a long-term licensing deal with a
Yeah, that's a
brand?
very
Only
important
because
question.
it's only the very few of the few of the few. Not everybody is Michael Jordan, not everybody is LeBron James. I think today there was a very interesting article that came out that there are only 2 or 3 athletes that have lifetime royalty deals with Nike.
Yes.
Kevin Durant was one.
Yeah,
Obviously, there LeBron James. There, of course, Michael Jordan with the Jordan brand, and I think Steph Curry has a royalty deal with Under Armour. Every other athlete has to think outside the box. And it's the perfect question to lead into our conversation on the business investment side.
So how do cricketers become a part of a company or
Yeah.
a startup? What stage do they get in? Let's try and address these questions. We have some data that we have accumulated over of the investments or the partnerships that cricketers have got into with companies. So let's break it down and start with saying how does this deal how is this deal structured?
Absolutely. So perfect way to do it, and to keep it in very very simple terms. Startups go through various phases of fundraising in their regular growth stage. When you start a company, your first stage is your pre-seed round, which is when you need your initial capital to start a business. You would go to your friends and family, you would go to your known investor networks, and you'd raise a bit of capital. Once that's done, you go to a higher round, which is your seed round. As your company grows, you then have your Series A, Series B, Series D, etc. You then have your secondary sales, when every time new investors come in, existing investors wish to exit, and then they sell their shares to new investors. And then finally, you have the IPO. You either have the IPO or you have an acquisition. Either a company gets acquired or it goes public. Now, and it's very simple, whether we're talking in a global context or an Indian context, the athlete has a certain stage he comes in.
So which is that stage usually?
That stage usually in India, Akhil, has been anywhere between the pre-seed to the seed stage, because when a company is raising money, it will go to a cricketer. It would go to a cricketer and say, look, we don't have the funds to pay you your endorsement fee.
Right.
And in an Indian context, Akhil, this has happened with a lot of Bollywood celebrities. They earn a huge amount of income from films.
Used to,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah. So they would not, they would go to a brand and say, look, instead of paying me a 1 crore, 2 crore, 3 crore, 5 crore endorsement fee, give me stock in the company.
So they are basically saying the company does not have to spend because they are at a growth stage.
Yes.
And the athlete is taking a little bit of risk
Yes.
with his career, saying that if this company becomes big,
Yes.
then I have a chance to make more money than what I would earn in an endorsement day. Correct?
Of course, of course. And look, it's a risk on both parties. But why it's very exciting is that by taking stock in the company, your skin is in the game. It's very different from just providing services. When you're endorsing a brand, you would show up for an 8-hour shoot, you would tick off your entitlements, complete your contractual commitments, and then your chartered accountant would follow up for your endorsement check. When you invest in a business, or if you take stock in a business, it's a new 360-degree approach where you're being part, as you said, of a growth stage. You've come in at a seed stage or a pre-seed stage where the company does not have 5 crores of marketing money or endorsement sponsorship money to pay you. They've given you that in stock. Now, in some stages, because as we said, Indian cricketers have a high amount of disposable primary income, they take part in an investment round. Right. So if a company is, say, raising a crore of rupees, raising it from 3 or 4 investors with 10 lakh or 15 lakh tickets, a cricketer may come in and cut that check. and buy equity in the company.
That also helps the company's profile, right? If a company is backed by a cricketer,
Yes.
it adds a little bit of credibility to it. It gives you a certain PR that you can do around the investment, right?
100%. And I think that, Akhil, it's a global best practice. The simplest way that, to look at it is, I keep giving this example to people when they ask me, is that in the NBA, every single year when you have the NBA draft, you have a lot of young first round draft picks who end up getting $10 million salary contracts. Now, there's only a LeBron James who's going to get the $100 million Nike endorsement contract. There's only one Steph Curry who will probably get a lifelong royalty deal from Under Armour.
Right.
Not every other cricketer is going to get a big endorsement contract, is going to get a big sneaker contract, is going to get their own sneaker line. That's a competitive market. We've seen it in the WNBA that only a Caitlin Clark will now get a big Nike contract. So a lot of the other NBA players or professional athletes in the US, they take their income, identify companies to invest in, and they say, okay, let me put aside $1 million or $1.5 million. Let me identify companies with my team and let me start investing. Exactly that is now happening in India over the past 3 to 4 years.
A little more, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe MS Dhoni, Yuvraj Singh have been again somebody who've been doing it for a while.
Yes.
And now we've seen even retired cricketers like a Tendulkar or a
Yes.
Dravid
Yeah.
get into that zone. I know Rahul Dravid is with a footwear company.
Yes.
Sachin, I think, is with.
Sachin had invested or had got some stock in Smash. You remember there was
Yes,
that.
yes.
That was one of the first deals that I remember, which was quite exciting. So it's exciting, Akhil, on two levels. Number one is that the IPL changed this as well, as we spoke last time. High salary, high primary income, every player earning 5 crore, 6 crore contracts. It's very, and what did cricketers usually do in India? They would spend that money on real estate, they would buy expensive watches, they would buy cars. Nothing wrong with that, but is that a sustainable investment? Probably not. These days, they would have investment advisors to tell them diversify your salary, invest in mutual funds, invest in the stock market. Where the startup ecosystem is very exciting is that India is in a startup growth phase. We love watching our Shark Tank. Now, in a week, the number of conversations we have about pre seed and Series A and Series B and secondaries and IPO. It's exciting now for cricketers who, Indian cricketers today are a class of HNIs themselves, high primary salary income, and now they are a target for startups to invest money in the company.
And it's a very exciting phase, especially if the cricketer finds a company which matches his personality or which matches a passion that he has.
100%.
So if he is passionate about a fitness, he would love to associate with a health or fitness brand.
Yeah.
If there is somebody who's associated with, say, a, a drone company or
Yeah.
somebody into space, then they would want to invest into that. There are somebody who likes fashion and style.
Yeah.
That is another segment. So we've
Correct.
seen cricketers invest into various sectors.
Yeah.
And do you want to run through some of the names that we have?
I think that's a perfect way to do it, Akhil. So I refer a lot to the Inc. 42 list. I think that's one of the most credible lists over the last couple of years that's been researching a lot in the market about this new class of investors.
Sure.
So again, and when we do these conversations, I'm very mindful of using the word Indian athlete or Indian sports person because it's being a bit unfair because we have to realize that a lot of other athletes in India don't have this high salary income.
Right.
That's the basic premise of the discussion. Being a cricketer, because you have the income, you have the opportunity to be a class of investors.
Yeah.
And I think towards the end of 2022 was one of these first comprehensive lists that Inc. 42 had come out with. And it was very exciting about how it mentioned KL Rahul had invested money in an innerwear brand called XYXX. That was one very interesting deal in 2022. I got to work on a very exciting deal with Full Life Healthcare,
Right.
which is the
This
parent
is with
company.
Mayank Agarwal.
Yes, that's right. So Mayank, and again, this was a very exciting deal because Mayank used to consume the Fasten Up nutrition product. He used to be a brand ambassador for the product, but over the years, it evolved into an investment deal.
Right.
Because this was a company that was making products that a lot of cricketers liked using. And this became a secondary investment. So Full Life Healthcare raised a large amount of money from Morgan Stanley Southeast Asia. And then At the post-money value, there were secondary shares offered. So to simplify that, a company can raise money in Series C or Series D. It raises money and at a post-money value. So pre-money is before you've received the investment. Post-money is once you have the investment. At the post-money level, some existing shareholders like to exit and they sell their shares in a secondary transaction.
Whoever is ready
And
to
at
buy.
the time, Shilpa Shetty and Mayank Agarwal acquired some of the shares. So I had worked on the transaction with him. One of the best deals I've done in my career because, as I explained in the beginning, it was a relationship that moved from endorsement, liking the brand, and now I want to get my skin into the game, so I'm going to invest my own money. So Mayank purchased the shares at the secondary level.
So this is at a quite a developed stage in the company, right?
That's correct. That makes it a lot different from the early stage companies. If you looked at the following year, there were some more very interesting deals that had come up.
Virat has some interesting deals. Hardik.
Yeah, I mean Virat has tons. Virat and Dhoni have two of the best investment portfolios in these. Hardik Pandya made a bunch of very interesting investments. He invested in a D2C food startup called U. Is that how I pronounce it? I think they make snacks. Again, I'm quoting a lot of the Inc. 42 list. MS Dhoni invested in a company called Rigi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. RIGI, which was again a creator, and that was a part of where he was part of a round where a lot of high-profile investors came on board. Kunal Shah had invested in the company.
I remember
at the time.
Dhoni is invested in a drone company. He had Seven, which was the clothing and the footwear brand.
Yes.
I also know he's a part of another footwear company which he's promoting now.
Yes.
So Dhoni, yes, you're right. He's made a lot of these investments.
Yes.
And he started quite early. I think Yuvraj
You spoke
Singh.
about your retired cricketers. Saurav Ganguly invested in a delivery startup, Just My Roots, and Sehwag invested as an angel investor in Two Brothers Organic. I was watching their ads yesterday.
Yes.
So these are also some quite.
Yuvraj Singh was he
Greco.
started a investment startup company.
Yes, UV Can Ventures.
Where he was investing into various companies.
Yeah.
Obviously Ajinkya.
Yeah.
Ajinkya has invested into agriculture for a long time. He's taken that as a passion project.
Yeah.
And he's promoting agriculture.
And Akhil, on the Ajinkya note, one very successful marketing equity investment was with Huddle. And that's something that, everyone, I at least have 2 conversations a week with people who use the Huddle platform. That's probably, I would say, an example of a brand using marketing equity of a cricketer very well.
Yeah.
You have like a few things because you've been very closely involved in that you'd like to speak off on.
Yeah, it's one of the well done deals, I would say.
Yeah.
It came at a time when COVID was happening. There was not much activity happening. So it was a very nice deal. The founders have been very, very nice. They have a good vision. And I'd like to mention here that it was not just Ajinkya, they had also onboarded Pulela Gopichand. So they took the right people with right credibility. They used them well in their marketing campaigns. And again, it's a handshake that comes from both sides. So we've both been happy with the way that it's worked. Huddle has grown as a brand over the years. Ajinkya is very proud to talk about it when we go and do these corporate talks.
And that was early stage. That was when the
Very
company,
early stage.
I think they had raised some pre-seed money.
Very early stage.
Yeah.
Very early stage. They came and he could promote the brand with his social media presence. They used his time and very well and shot some commercials with him.
Correct.
They used him across playing platforms wherever they are. So yeah, that's been a really good deal.
Yeah. You mentioned health, Akhil. Shreya Iyer made an investment into into this health startup called Curello. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Rohit Sharma has made a few.
Yes, he made one into a fitness platform as well. KL Rahul again here. It says another. This is a startup called Flam. This is again something very interesting.
Didn't KL also have a fashion brand that he had launched a few years ago?
Yeah, I don't know. He's invested in a brand very recently called Bold Fit, which makes active athleisure wear as well. That was an investment as of 30th July of 2024.
So it's very evident, right? People have chosen their niche and then they've tried to go into
They've
that.
chosen their niche. So I think that, a good way that, would it be fair, Akhil, if we had to simplify it, is that cricketers look at the growth stage of the company. they either you could be at a very advanced stage of the company like a full life healthcare and fasten up and do a secondary investment, or you could come in an earlier round. You could come in and probably pre-seed, seed stage, and probably take it from there.
Or you could also come in as a co-founder, like how Roger Federer has done, right?
Yes.
Where you actually start with the brand, you start with the premise and idea,
Yeah.
and then help grow, invest some money into it, and help it grow with your marketing equity.
And then take it to IPO.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's a conversation that comes up quite a lot. So Virat Kohli's investment in Digit Insurance, the company recently went public, and again, without getting into the specifics and the numbers, he made a massive return on investment over there as well. A recent company that went public, Swiggy. If you notice, prior to Swiggy going public,
Lot of celebrity investors.
pre-IPO investments took place. So again, at the late stage before the company goes public, existing shareholders who were exiting, a lot of people could make investments. I invested in Swiggy at that same stage as well. So yeah, this is quite an interesting. This is going to be an interesting future. Neeraj Chopra. It's important to make a non-cricket reference as well. He made an investment here, and I often, Akhil, get asked questions a lot about, are athletes or cricketers investing cash? Are they getting sweat equity? And I say, see, look, these are very kind of, I would say, case by case personal deals that a company has with the athlete or
Those
the
cannot be
cricketer.
verified.
Again, it's not, and I think that the companies know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Some companies offer a lot of, see, sweat equity. Again, the easiest way to explain it is that instead of getting an endorsement fee, you just take stock.
Yes.
You get stock, free equity or marketing equity, in which you offer a lot of promotions. You may do a combination of a cash investment plus equity. So the best way I explain it, sweat equity, marketing equity, or a simple financial investment, and the stages that where you could come in, seed, pre-seed, series A. So
you mentioned Neeraj Chopra. Do you have any names that he has invested in?
yes, I will. I have the company right here. This is Olympian Neeraj Chopra into a regional OTT platform. The platform is called Witty Feed, founded by Vinay Singhal, Praveen Singhal, yeah, founded in 2019.
I think PV Sindhu has also made a couple of investments. She is invested in a company called as Hoop, which is into recovery. So I know about that. I think Sania Mirza has also made a couple of investments. Smriti Mandhana has a cafe of her own in Sangli. So that's her own cafe. She's trying to trademark it with SM18 or something.
PV Sindhu partners with wellness brand Hoop as investor.
So there are cases outside cricket also, like you
It is very
mentioned.
interesting, and I think, like, as we kind of mentioned, Akhil, is that you can have the type of deal you do is specific to the company.
Yeah.
It's specific to what the company offers. If you're an athlete with the kind of credibility and equity like a PV Sindhu or a Neeraj Chopra, a company can really benefit from your marketing equity.
Right.
And rather than, as I said, paying out a massive endorsement fee to a PV Sindhu or a Neeraj Chopra, they just offer them stock in the company. Very exciting kind of deal. And I think going forward, we're going to see a lot more cash investment deals. I would say the cash investment deals, Akhil, will be dominated by cricketers.
Yes.
Because they have the higher amount of income.
Also, these younger cricketers who start getting a lot of money at the younger stage in the because of the IPL will have a lot of cash to spend.
And
if
it's
they use it
important.
well,
It's important to invest it wisely.
Rishabh Pant, for example, I think is already invested in a few companies.
It's
He's
exciting.
at that age where he still has a lot of cricket left in him.
And Akhil, you don't need that much of income to look. When you earn this amount of high income in your primary salary, a lot of it is taxed. You end up paying 30 to 40% tax as it is. Capital gains tax on your investment in a startup is much less if you hold it for 2 years. So it always makes sense. Look, their financial advisors are going to tell them, invest in your mutual funds, invest in, some more secure kind of investment vehicles. Real estate, jewelry is something that they've been doing along with their cars and watches. But the startup ecosystem is something, it is risky. However, because they have a higher amount of income, it's something that's going to be very, very exciting in conclusion, if we were to look at it.
So, Dhruv, we've had an interesting chat about the investments. Like in the corporate box, we have a segment called as business snapshot,
The business snapshot of what's happened
what
recently. Yeah.
or what has taken our notice in the last few since our last episode.
Yeah.
Uh, you had something very nice
Yeah.
that you spotted. I spotted that in Bombay.
Yeah, the PV Sindhu
Puma campaign. A very interesting campaign, right?
yeah.
PV Sindhu has not been a part of Puma since this is the first time she's been onboarded,
Yeah.
and they created a stir by having changing the way that the name or the logo was displayed.
Yes.
You want to talk us through that?
Yeah, no, it was a very exciting. I think this is so. There's been a change in leadership in Puma India,
Yes.
and the new MD Karthik Balagopan, who's come on board. I mean, I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times. He's been in Europe for a number of years. He's just returned to India. Complete marketing genius, business genius, and any kind of conversation with him is always engaging. And I think this is the first major Puma Indian Athlete Association under his leadership.
Right.
And what's very exciting about it is that this is a time where I would say PV Sindhu is one of India's best, if not the best, female individual sport athletes.
Even normal athlete, she's right at the
She's right at the top.
top
Yeah, I
three.
mean, World Championship gold medalist, two back-to-back Olympic medals. Didn't win a medal this time, but I think that
She's a champion.
she's a champion, and I think so. You could say she falls into the legacy athlete
Yes,
category. And
absolutely.
apart from the legacy athlete, she's also an athlete who is still gonna try to earn one more Olympic medal before retirement. And women's sport is a massive category in India.
Yes.
Women's fitness is a massive category. Puma do have an indoor sports shoe category. This endorsement deal would cover her footwear, it would cover her training clothing, it would cover, as you know, the lines are very blurred between lifestyle clothing and athleisure. So it's a very exciting partnership. Badminton, like tennis, has obviously different categories for equipments and rackets. So that would probably not be part of this endorsement. But what makes it very exciting is that you're seeing, and I think you know this as a former Puma employee, that the company has done phenomenal growth in India. And I would say among a lot of the sports brands, it has invested in a lot of non-cricket athletes. I would say the highest non-cricket athlete roster in India among the major sports brands is Puma. And it's very exciting to see this now going forward because, as you said, an exciting campaign, a very interesting announcement, and it's an important category. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Puma leverages PV Sindhu into this category of fitness training, racket sport. One of the best athletes, cuts across various demographics, phenomenal achievements. And it'll be very interesting to see how this goes forward now, leading up to the next Olympics in 2028.
That's going to be a phenomenal campaign. It's going to be a good association. I also want to throw in something for business snapshot. Something that I'm looking forward to actually is the pickleball league.
Yes, yeah.
They've got some good investors, good names they've got as investors. Gaurav Natekar's company is running that along with Sony. So that is a league backed by a television partner. So sustainability is going to happen. And with good owners, I'm actually looking forward to that league. There's some good people, so I'm hopeful about that. Yeah, we've seen growth of pickleball happen over the years.
Pickleball has been massive in India, and it's nice to see a league around it. And like I said, it's nice to see franchise models be replicated in other sports. So yeah, I'm gonna Akhil keep an eye on that league for sure.
Super. So that was the business snapshot for this episode. We've had a lovely time talking about the various investments made by sports persons in startups, in businesses. If you have any questions, comments, please send it to us. We are happy to address them and respond to them in our next episode. So thank you so much for joining us. Do like, share, and subscribe our episode. We are going to be back again for the next episode of Corporate Box very soon. Thank you so much.